welcome, Joyce. It's a pleasure speaking with you again.
Thank you. It's my great pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.
For those who don't know, of course, we'll post your link in the bottom description, but Joyce is an amazing intuitive channeler who has a very extensive and awe-inspiring body of work, and many books to your credit, many TV appearances, many of your own shows, etc. I would even say it's safe to say that you've pretty much given most psychics, let's call them psychics, if you will, their start in this business, because you had such a long-running alternative radio show for so long. But I don't want to get diverted, because I know you prepped for channeling or for a message. So if you want to start talking, I'll be quiet.
Before we start, I wanted to say thank you, Elaine, and also, with regard to what you just said, it really, I'm not going to mention his name, but if you think of the most successful, most famous psychic probably in the world, I gave him a start on my cable show, my TV show in 1989, 1988, and he does not remember. He has no acknowledgement of that. So that's all I wanted to say. So a lot of people who were helped along the way do not remember, do not acknowledge what we have all done for each other. So this is a time now that we're entering of remembering and touching in with a higher consciousness that says, someone has done something for you. It needs to be acknowledged at any level that's comfortable for you. Okay, so I wanted to say that for starters, and thank you, Lane, and I appreciate that. I shall now be quiet for a moment and see who's going to come in to speak with us. And I usually step back and away, but I might be part of this. I'm not sure. So, okay, just very quietly for a moment. All right, we're touching in now, for starters, with the Arcturians, and I'm not sure of how to pronounce it. They say Arcturians, I say Arcturians, I don't know. But they are the umbrella energy in the universe. The Pleiadians and all variations come under that. So the Arcturians are the closest we can come to the God force in the universe, from what they're telling me. And under that, we have Jesus coming in, and Babaji and the great master teachers who have worked with all of us for eons of time. They're like our parents, and they're here to assist and to help us. Okay, I remember many years ago when a psychic who was even older than I am and more well-known than I am said that we are entering a time of what will be known as the Big Show. He has since passed on. But apparently, this is the Big Show that we're in now, this coronavirus shutting down of the world kind of thing. This is the Big Show. And what the basic purpose is to cut us off from the old third-dimensional material ways that we have been so happy with, most of us, as we've discussed before, Lane. The old materialism of go to work and come home and watch television, have sex if you're lucky and go to bed, all of that is going out. And what's going to be replaced with that energy is the fourth, which is the vibration of love and connection to the fifth dimension and beyond. So that's basically what's happening now. And because we didn't do it as a society willingly and comfortably and smoothly, the universe was shut down, which is a very good thing, because now we're being forced to higher consciousness, and it's one of love and caring. And you can see, slowly but surely, people are starting to take care of one another and starting to be aware of each other's needs. Okay, if I'm quiet for a moment, it's because I'm readjusting the energies. Okay, I wanted to say something about Bill Gates, which is coming in very strongly. Apparently, we're in the process of Bill Gates, with his latest suggestion to save the planet, would be to dim, as DIM, the energy of the sun because of global warming. So he's saying if we create this tremendous dust barrier, yes, you heard it right, a dust barrier, barrier, dust barrier, it's called the sunshade, which will spray millions and billions of tons of chalk dust into the stratosphere and thereby stop global warming. This is one of his pet projects coming up right now. I'm going to ask you about that in a moment, Lynn, if you have any feelings about that. And to add to our current calamity, he's going to put one calamity on top of another, along with the vaccination train that he's running with. So along with the vaccination situation, we also have one other plan that he's coming up with Dr. Fauci, a wonderful team of people. That was sarcastic, by the way, where they now say, okay, you don't want your skin punctured with vaccination, you're a little bit afraid, we'll give you a patch, which actually is more insidious because you can't tell what it's doing. And there's going to be a lot of patching going on of God only knows what vaccines Fauci and Bill Gates will come up with. Okay. The purpose of this major shift that we're going through now is, in addition to the obvious ones of a lot of businesses shutting down that we will be upgrading or they'll be improving one way or another, or totally revamping. It's the elimination of what we have known as hypocrisy and dishonesty on the planet. Tremendous hypocrisy, deception in the media, in the news. Is the web honest? No, that's not honest either. So it's up to us to use our discernment. But the hypocrisy. Now, I was listening to one of the best-known psychics in the world, the same person I was speaking about before, who doesn't acknowledge that I gave him a start in television. This is amazing because he owns 3 houses, and he's talking about hypocrisy in his latest video. And I'm saying to myself, please, people, be aware of hypocrisy. If someone is out there beating a drum and saying, love one another, look at that person also. You can look at the person. He's not just a messenger. He's also, like all of these televangelists, they're not just messengers. They have to be looked at about and for what they really are. And if there's deception and there's dishonesty, it has to go. This will not be allowed as part of this planetary shift. Because if we allow it, this nonsense that we're experiencing now with the virus and everything shut down will continue and continue and continue. So the obvious question is, how long will it last? Well, that depends on how quickly we can grow up as a society. How quickly can we improve and stop being children? Stop wasting and offending the basic energy of the planet. Understand that trees and grass are living things and animals are living things, and they need to be respected and treated decently. That's step number 1 of this whole process of shifting from the third and beyond dimension. So we have to have hypocrisy has to go. We have to have honesty and integrity. Lying. Now, Lane, you're the most honest person I know. I have to tell you right up front. Very, very honest. Integrity and honesty is what the master teachers are calling for at this time. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to look within and say, how have we been dishonest? How have we hurt one another? Okay, once that lesson is accepted, we can start moving on and the virus will decrease. You see, the virus is a living thing and it is intertwined with our consciousness now because that's how it was set up. Was it Chinese? No. It's more African, believe it or not. Africa was much more involved with this than China, and then it went to Switzerland and then China, and then it was everywhere. Everyone agreed it was a good idea at a certain level. So, okay, I wanted to just be quiet for a moment. Okay, on the bright side, yes, there is a bright side. There are many good things that are happening now. Number 1, my personal favorite, is greater respect for women and the dating scene. Okay, it's pragmatic, I can't help it. But dating had become a jungle where if you met someone, even briefly for coffee, they expected to have sex right away. Well, that's all going to change because now no one can go near anyone. And I say good, very good, because we need to respect each other. Again, we're coming down to respect and lack of hypocrisy. No, what you do with your own sex life is your own business, but sex is really sacred. And it is the intermingling of male and female or whatever combination you want. And it is a sacred process, and it should not be done with abandonment and with casual indifference. So that's high on the list of respecting one another and respecting the planet, which is what this is all about. We have to learn respect and honesty. And if you're going to go from one partner to the other with reckless sex or with just for fun, sex is not just for fun, by the way. Sex is here for a purpose. So fun is on the list, but it's not at the top of the list. The top of the list is one, as the yogis taught many years ago, of the combining of male and female energy and the balancing. And if you practice yoga, which I have for many years, I taught my children about yoga also, which means union or connection with your higher self or connection with God. Yoga only means connection with God. If you learn the breathing techniques, which are so important now during these challenging times, we have to learn the complete breath. And the breath that can be done with the males and females together, but it does not necessarily lead to sex. It has to do with the balancing of energies, and what comes after that is, your own business. But the practice of yoga is extremely important now. And you say, well, what is yoga? Yoga is the breathing in of cosmic energy, breathing out. It's like bringing up the energy from the base of the spine to the top of the head, the crown chakra, and out to the universe. So the physical postures, which are known as the hatha yoga part of it, are extremely important because the balancing of the body is essential. Okay, you don't want to do yoga, you're tired, whatever. Acupuncture, chiropractic, all of that helps to balance the energies. We're talking about balancing now. We have the elimination of hypocrisy, the elimination of waste. Stop wasting paper. What was the first thing to go? Toilet paper. Okay, fine. So what did we learn from lesson number 2? Don't waste anything. There's an old, I think of an old cartoon or a joke about I think he was a comedian who was saying when his girlfriend goes into the bathroom and he's in the living room, he can hear the toilet paper running. And what is she using the toilet paper for? And that's really a form of waste that the planet needs to address. The wastefulness has been outrageous. The wasting of food, the wasting of water, all of that is going to come and really hit us very hard now. We have to respect what has been given to us and the blessings that have been given to us. What's really hard to understand now is that so much of the food that should be honored has to be discarded now. And a lot of the animals who are ready for slaughter have to be killed, and all of that has to be wasted because the whole thing is out of balance. Once again, we're talking about balancing the energies, balancing what we really need and what we really should use and what should not be used. So we have to use our common sense for that. See, all of this is going to help stop the virus. You say, well, how long is the virus going to last? How long are we going to take to grow up? And, why are we slaughtering pigs? Why are we slaughtering animals? Have you ever seen an animal slaughtered in the slaughtering house? It's very unpleasant. And cows, not nice. Okay. If you're going to have protein, and by the way, we should all have protein, you need a complete protein. Is tofu a complete protein? No. Okay, all this is going the same way. I'm not getting off track. I'm staying on track. This is all under respect for the planet so that the virus will stop, which is what I think we're probably discussing today. It's a time that we need to increase our hope. And the hope will increase and the positive energy will increase once we realize what we have been doing wrong. We have polluted our rivers. We have polluted the water. Look at any river. Drain a lake. What do you see? Old shoes. It's anyone's, an old sink, a toilet. It's like, why? That shouldn't have been done. A tire. The tires are everywhere. Okay. So it's a time of accepting of what our universal teachers would like to tell us. There's no reason for worry. There's no reason for despair. It's not a time of depression or confusion. It's a time of turning within and being calm and sitting quietly and listening. Record your dreams. You say, I don't remember my dreams. Well, the more you try, the more you will remember. Keep a notebook by your bed. You'll receive cosmic messages that will be very helpful and help you to have calmness use prayer and meditation to collect your energies and to drive you in the right direction. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to be afraid. The people who are passing from the virus, God bless them, many of them have chosen at a certain level to go. Believe it or not, there's an acceptance there. And when they go, they're helped by their own teachers, by their own loved ones. And then they're able to help those people on the earth who are left behind. They may choose to do that. Okay, let's see what's going on now in the world. Let's see. The economy. Oh, okay, the economy is in flux. Are we going to have a depression? Probably not. But again, because this whole thing of printing as much money as we need, it's insane. At a certain point, it has to come up, and we have to acknowledge what we're doing. We probably can keep the depression from happening. Right now, we're in a deep recession, but we're still in time to save ourselves. We still have gas, which is good, down to under $1, all very amazing. Okay, it's more like a waiting game and seeing just what's happening. What are we going to do as collective consciousness? What are we really doing? A lot of cover-ups are going on in the world. That's adding to the confusion. The monetary system, people who are working undercover, who are working with Africa, working with places that have really have an agenda of driving the economy into the ground to their own agenda. Yes, believe it or not. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not a conspiracy person. I just deliver messages. I'm only a messenger. So, there's the possibility of a new monetary system. It's a time for all of us to become more intuitive and more aware of what's going on. No war with North Korea, as far as I can tell. There's no war with China. Those wars, that kind of war is kind of going like the way of high-button shoes. We have now elevated ourselves to a new type of bioengineering warfare, which is much more dangerous and much more insidious because you can't see the dead bodies that clearly, you just know people die and that's all you know. So, all right, we have to, again, be aware of what's going on. What are these people really saying? Are you going to believe what they're telling us, or are you going to challenge them? Okay, the virus is really a test more than anything else. It's a test of what we understand and where we're going as humanity. What is it? The virus is a test. What are we going to do with each other? Are we going to let people starve? Are we going to look the other way? Are we going to help each other? It's up to us. The virus may run in about 3 years. The most dangerous part will probably let up in about June. It's very hard to tell because, again, it has to do with shifting energies. It will probably disappear, but then there'll be another virus right after it because the powers that be have discovered now that viruses are a wonderful way of thinning the herd, as you can see, and gaining control and causing fear more than anything else. And once you give in to fear, it's very hard to overcome that. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. Everyone is given the choice now of either staying on the planet and dealing with all of this and growing, because don't forget the Earth is a school. As the energies on the planet are reset and there's a rebirth occurring for all of us who are left here, we are given the choice. Do we wish to stay here or do we wish to move on? If you wish to move on, good luck, God bless you. Okay. Now, the babies who are born now are very special. They're especially special because they're born into a quarantine, and that's really bizarre. But they knew about it before they were born because there were no new souls coming onto the earth. I mean, I can't believe that they would come on as a new soul now. I don't believe it's happening. What Spirit is saying now is that during this time of rebirth, old souls are coming in, and they want the experience also. They think it's fabulous. At a certain level, the babies are getting a huge kick out of this. Okay, so as we're facing our fears and resetting the planet with the rebirth of the energies, there's an elevation of energy, which is what this is all about as well. This is all like, just bring us into the fold of what I believe the energy is. Okay. Oh, let's see now. Queen of England, we don't care. Reptilian. All right. So the Pope should have been arrested a long time ago, but he has a huge regime. Very, very. How many popes have just gone by in the past? It's anyone's guess. The Queen is not at all what she seems to be. She's very, very dangerous, very insidious, and she looks very innocent, but she's not. Okay, I don't know how that popped in, but we have that also. Many of the people in control who are looked up to and revered really should be in jail. Okay, so let's see now. Trump is only a puppet. He's not even a real president. He's just kind of doing the best he can with what he has to work with. So who our president is, and again, he'll probably be reelected, but not necessarily. The real powers are not at all what they seem to be. So we have to be able to figure out on our own, okay, how to overcome the problems on the planet. And one of the primary problems are the death of children, the destruction of children, and how the elite, such as Epstein and company, are using children to proliferate the drug culture, and for many of the systems that are currently in need of coming to an end. There's so much beneath the surface that needs cleansing. Nothing is what it seems to be. Everything is a hidden agenda. And so many thousands of children have been sacrificed in the name of people who simply did it really just for their own agendas, and there was no other reason for that. Okay, so this is a really beneficial acceleration of all of that being exposed, eliminated. I do see child trafficking decreasing, hopefully eliminated. Epstein was nothing. He looked like an angel compared to many of the people who are continuing to be so very terrible. And when Lane starts speaking, I'm sure we'll go further into that. So this is a time of growth of mankind, as you can see. It's a beneficial acceleration if it can be seen that way. Time for healing yourself now. Okay, hold on. Eliminating, what are your worst habits? Okay, you have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell us. But those worst habits, are you involved with alcohol? Okay, it's difficult now because people need a little anesthesia. They're a little whacked out now for the most part. And they're turning to alcohol, which is very bad because alcohol and drugs are not your friends. They only seem to be because they have a numbing effect, but they leave you open to lower consciousness, and that will come in and pull down the energy of the planet, which you do not want. You want to raise the energy so the virus will stop. Okay, I'm going to keep repeating that. So that's the real purpose of the virus, is to clean the planet. Now, if you're going to use drugs, you're going to use alcohol to numb yourself so you don't feel the pain, you're going to retard the energy of the planet and yourself. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. Your soul energy has to be more angelic. It has to be raised, and there has to be honesty. People who look so nice and so good and so sweet, who are they really? What are they really doing? What's the real purpose of this person? What is their hidden agenda? So maybe they really are good. That's possible too. So we're going to have to learn more about self-sustenance, which is not one of my favorite topics because it involves growing our own food, which I really don't want to do. But it involves learning to get back to nature. Again, difficult. Respecting trees, respecting what the earth can bring us. We have to actually put our fingers into the earth and start growing things, not just in our windows, the little window boxes, but actually trying to go outside, trying to be self-sustaining, because the power grid may go down and there may be blackouts. Who knows, rolling blackouts, it's anyone's guess. You're not going to be able to buy food. You're not going to be able, not to scare you, but to say be as self-sustaining as possible. Stock up on food and water as a start. Okay, do the best you can with that. Get seeds, grow organic seeds. I'm sure Lane will tell us more about that also, because this is not one of my areas of specialty. But from what my teachers are telling me, they're saying be self-sustaining. And you know what that means. This is not something we like in this country because it's much easier for us to go to the store and get what we need. I hope it doesn't come to this because it's very frightening to me. It involves making our own clothes, and I do not want to do that because that's really frightening, and I don't want to make my own clothes because it's a really bad idea. So it's a time of mental and emotional stability. We have to, I'd rather wear my old clothes rather than make new ones, to tell you the truth. But, okay, so we're going to have to learn to grow our own food at a certain point. I know some people are doing that already, and don't be afraid of the process. Just dig in and just do it. Sooner or later, you'll get it right. The point is, the rat race, where we get up and go to work, that's third dimension. That has to stop. You want this virus to stop? Stop the rat race. You don't like being in your restaurant 7 days a week, cooking, cleaning? Stop it, okay? Just do takeout. You'll have less money, but you don't need such a big house. You know, real estate is going to change radically. And the people who were so happy in their penthouses, I love it too, but you can't really grow anything. So everything is changing now. Not to frighten us, but to be aware of the possible changes and how we can speed along this process, okay? Someone said that this is the time of the Earth's millionaire's time. That was heralded in the beginning of this year of 2020. It was called the millionaire's time because of the planetary alignment. If you do astrology, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the time where people can really become millionaires, but it has to be different than the old way. It has to be because you're giving people what they want and need. What do they really need? They need food. They need to know how to grow food. And they need to know how they can sustain their life. So that's the basis of this message today, and I have a little more for you. Okay. So your talents and skills have to be addressed. What are you good at? You have to look at yourself and say, what are your own abilities? Do you sew? SEW? You're going to be in demand. All the people who were executives and who went to college, good for them. It's not going to help us. The degrees are not going to help us now. As we go into the fifth and sixth dimension, it has to be one of sustenance. We really need people who are going to help us to survive. Who are those people? Well, maybe doctors. Do we need all those drugs? No. The pushing of drugs has to stop. That is really, my father, the pharmacist, told me a long time ago, every drug has a side effect. Be aware of what you're doing to your body. Are you begging for Alzheimer's? Are you bringing it on with your drugs? If you can eliminate the drugs, good. If you have diabetes because you're overweight, lose weight. I'm not kidding. Walk. Put on your mask, do whatever you have to do, and get out and walk in the sunshine. Do we need vitamin D? Yes. Not too much. Sunshine, a little vitamin D, and that will help us a lot. Vitamin C, zinc, what the base. I don't want to bore you with all the directions of what you're supposed to take because everyone is telling you the importance of vitamin C. I just wanted to say something about vitamin C very quickly. Vitamin C is not what it should be. It should be the inclusion, not just of acerola, but the inclusion of bioflavonoids. I will repeat that. The inclusion of bioflavonoids and rutin, R-U-T-I-N, bioflavonoids and rutin, which is always impossible to find. Now, if you just take vitamin C alone, that's great, but you need the bioflavonoids. Why? Because it will protect your capillaries, it will protect your arteries, and keep your body even stronger. And for some reason, it's very difficult to find vitamin C with bioflavonoids and rutin, but please do try. And you may have to buy it separately. I don't know. I have found it very difficult to find lately. Okay. Let's see. Where are we now? I'm listening to my teachers as I speak, and sometimes I lose it completely. This is a time for, it's so interesting that cats are now being carriers, and a lot of them are developing the virus. Why? Because they also are, cats are a special breed. They also have many lessons to learn, and they're egomaniacs. Let me tell you, ego has to stop on the planet. It's right up there with getting rid of all the traits that you've had ego is probably the worst. Now, if you're a victim of ego, as cats are, they say, oh, really? Okay, that oh, really attitude, or the one of you know everything, that has to stop, because that's holding back the energy of the planet. You know who you are, all you egomaniacs out there. And ego is a good thing. Everyone on the planet has a degree of ego. It's when it gets out of control and there's too much ego where you become such a smart aleck and a nonstop talker and you know everything. All of that is ego, and that's anti-God. So we're going to address the issues of ego. Look at yourself honestly and say, are we really dealing with, what are we really dealing with? Are we dealing with ego, or am I coming from a place of honesty? You want maximum cosmic guidance, support, and help, and you will get it once the ego moves to the side. So those folks who say, well, gee, I think I'm doing everything right, you're probably not, because if you were, we wouldn't have this problem. So that means everybody. Visualization is very important. You have to visualize the life you want, and your teachers, your spirit teachers will hear you. They will respond, but you have to call on them. A lot of people have vision boards. I've never had a vision board. I probably never will, because I think they're stupid, but that's just me. I think you need to visualize, put it on a piece of paper, put it out somewhere. Maybe a vision board is a good idea for some people. If you relate to that, that's really good. Okay, so greed, arrogance, and ego. Where do you fit in with the greed, arrogance, and that whole counter God vibration? If you're a part of that, that has to end, or the virus will continue. I don't want to keep scaring all of us with the virus, but it's a fact of life. It is affecting the entire planet. I want you to be aware of the fact that Africa, all of Africa, which is a very, not always such a clean, great place, is very responsible. So stop blaming just the Chinese people. The whole planet is guilty, and we all have to clean up our act. I'm sorry to be so harsh, but that's what my guides are telling me to tell you. We're coming into a place now of absolute reality and no more nonsense, okay? So, let's see. Tremendous deception. The deception has to go. Now, I'm just listening for a second. If you are a person that needs a physical support system, you might want to get the gemstone that Edgar Casey told us about a long, long time ago. So he passed away, I think, 1900 and something. But he told us in the 15,000 readings that he did over and over again, get the lapis lazuli gemstone. It's blue, and it vibrates to the throat chakra. I'm going to spell that for you, but I'm sure you know what it is. It's the lapis, L-A-P-I-S, lazuli, L-A-Z-U-L-I, lapis lazuli. Opens the third eye and protects us, and it helps to kill viruses. I wouldn't give a guarantee about that, but he has indicated to me that it will help, and my guides agree that anything blue, wearing blue in our energy will definitely help. Okay, so we have a number of things that we have to eliminate before we move on. Is fear has to go. And once you realize that there's no reason to be afraid, if you get sick, you can become well. Like, Tom Hanks is now going to donate his blood because he apparently and his wife had it, and they will become well, and they certainly will help to protect. So maybe he's turning around. A lot of people say that, he's a clone or he's this. It doesn't matter. If he can help society, which he has chosen to do, that's all great. You have to get enough sleep. Sleep is really important now. However you have to do it, you need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I know it's very difficult. I am an insomniac, I admit it, but you need those 8 to 10 hours. The body has to restore itself. You have to eat right. No more ringos, I forget what they're called, ring dings, and all my favorite foods. On none of those, my teachers are saying, no. We can't have those anymore, not for a while at least, until the planet cleans up its act, and then we can go back to the ring dings. Okay, but not at this moment while we're still trying to shift into the fourth and fifth dimension, which is all this is. Okay, so we have to just be aware of where our consciousness is. Is it still in a place of money? Probably, because we have so many bills and people are really freaking out. But as you have more spiritual awareness, you say, well, maybe it's another way I can make money. That's what your consciousness needs. You say, well, I made so much money with my business. I'm so unhappy now. Yes, that's true of everyone. And God said, well, you know what? We have to really move now to a higher dimension. And that's the purpose of the isolation that we're all experiencing now. The isolation is to put us into a higher consciousness where there's no noise. And if there's noise entering into your life, get rid of it. There shouldn't be any noise. This is a time of isolation and quietness. Did you ever think this would happen? Well, for the last couple of years on Facebook and wherever people allowed me to say it, I always said we were shifting from the third to the fifth dimension at this time. I did not know the exact date, and I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I knew that the whole planet would be shifting. And here's the good news. We have more good news. As the planet becomes quiet and there's less traffic and there's less noise, we're not going to have the shifting of the planetary axis that was predicted so many years ago by so many people. They said, oh, you get to 2020, the planet's going to shift on its axis, and we're going to have earthquakes, and we're all going to die. Well, that's not going to happen. And that's the good news, because we have quieted down. There's a whole Inner Earth Society known as the Agartha Society, AGARTHA, and they have been warning us for a long time, saying, please, people, you have to be quiet. You have to calm down what's happening on the surface of the earth, because it's affecting the Inner Earth Society and it's affecting the outer earth as well. So please, people, and of course we didn't listen. So the space teachers came along, like the Arcturians, and they said, okay, we're shutting you down. That's it. And it's a good thing, because now the planet will reset. And the key word now is one of humanity, where we have to take care of each other. And we have to rely on our faith and not fear. And if you see somebody in need, you have to help them. And there has to be gratitude. Gratitude has to be so important. No matter what happens, someone dies, they lived their life, the way they chose to live it as much as possible. If they took on hard lessons, that was their choice. At a certain level, they came in, they took it on, and then they left. Good luck, God bless them. We include them in our prayers. But there always has to be gratitude. Gratitude to them, gratitude to God, gratitude to ourselves for all that we have done for each other, and we will continue. So we have to see what's going on with a clear light, clear vision. That's what 2020, get it? 2020 is all about. We have to see clearly what's happening, and we have to evaluate the system without fear and avoid the toxic damages to the planet. What has been damaging to the planet? Oh, wow, look, you know what? There was a dumping of crude oil. There was, digging into the earth and throwing the earth out of balance. All these things have contributed, and they have stopped now, and they cannot start again. You cannot start digging into the earth to look for oil, because God doesn't like that. You're cutting into something sacred. So that's it. Ask yourself what your lessons are, what you're here to learn. Don't come from a place of fear. Come from a place of hope and helping one another. And that's essentially it from the Arcturians, Lane. That's basically what they wanted to share with us today. I'm sure we have missed a lot, but Lane, get back to you now.
That was wonderful, and I thank the Arcturians, and would like to know very much who was speaking. Was it a group effort or an individual?
They came in as a collective, and that means that they don't use words like we do. They come in with energy, and it comes through our brain, and it comes in as collective energy. And that's really, they didn't give me a specific name. It's collective energy. We also have Archangel Michael, who, thank God, always touches in. He comes in as a protective form for all the people on the earth. He, like Mother Mary and like all the ascended masters, they're able to be everywhere at the same time. Their energy is universal. So you say, well, is Mother Mary going to be with you, or is she going to be with me? She's with everyone. And it's the same thing with Archangel Michael and the Arcturians and the other glorious helpers, and even our departed loved ones, mother, father, sister, brother, all of the people, once they cross over and they go into the clear light, and the I forget what it's called, the Sushumna is the spine, and it's connected to the Aktakarana. I gave it in Hindu. The Aktakarana is is the connecting link between living humans and higher consciousness. And once we officially die, the cosmic cord breaks, and there's no coming back into the body. And then you go into the clear light. People who have near-death experiences do not break that cord. The cord stays intact. And when we travel out of body, when we go to sleep or meditate, that cord stays intact. And even when we go to the cosmic library, which I hope you all go to because I love it there very much, all universal information is in there. And you'll see people who have their cords attached still, and you'll see other ones who do not. Now, the ones who do not, obviously, are the ones who have officially crossed over. They've broken the Sushumna, the Antakarana, which is the connecting cord, and when you take your last breath. And then there's no coming back into the body at that point. The body just decays and, it's gone. It doesn't matter really what happens to it after that point. I'm sorry, did you have a question, Lane?
Well, yes. Well, I have a lot of questions, but this could go on for some time. So how about we stop the channeling here, and then we'll move into a discussion. So let's see. I'm going to, because the Arcturians mentioned quite a number of topics that we need to discuss, and I was just taking notes on some of the things they had said, some of which contradict the other reading the Arcturians had given us about 2-3 weeks ago.
Well, don't forget, there's evolution. The planet is shifting and changing, and predictions, correct, even from the Arcturians or from even from God, it's going to be interactive with free will from the Earth. I'm not making excuses for inaccuracies. I'm saying free will is supreme, and God has given us that. So as the energy on the Earth shifts and changes, predictions are going to be erroneous. So give us an example.
I'm not sure, but I wanted to ask you about some things. So they had mentioned the 4D was a place of basically light and love and sunshine, and I mean, I'm using that sunshine facetiously, sorry. Whereas I had always known 4D to be a place where the unpleasant entities hung out.
That shouldn't be, because it's a place more than anything else of transition. Now, when you have transition,
supposed to be a place of transition, and it fell into something else. Is that correct?
Well, you know what? I can't say about that, but it's like a highway. It's like I-95, where it's a place of transition. You're going from one place to another. The police do try to take care of it and keep out speeders and people going the wrong way and drug users and so forth, but they're going to be there anyway. And that's exactly what 4D is like as we move to the fifth and higher dimensions. So we have to deal with it. Again, it's a place of transition. It's a highway. 4D is a highway, and hopefully a love highway, but not necessarily.
But, okay, so how do we recognize it? I think that it's fairly easy to recognize when you've moved out of 3D. But what are the particular characteristics of 4D so we know, so an individual knows when they're in it?
Okay, it's a place of transition, which is what we're in right now, where you have to say to yourself, well, do I want to continue being a dentist where I have no patients, or do I want to do something that will be helpful to mankind and maybe open a vegetable stand, or do something incredibly beneath me? See, it's the ego again. It's a place where we're shifting energies. I don't remember what your question was.
It doesn't matter. The question is, it's different now because that shifts and changes too. So,
right, exactly. You're very smart.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Anywho, let's see. 4D. So are the Arcturians saying then that the entire planet is in 4D, or is that certain individuals?
The entire planet is shifting from 3D to 5D, fifth dimension, and it's going on the highway of transition. What's on a highway? It's anyone's guess. A highway should all go in the correct direction.
I see. But certain individuals choose to stay in that very dense 3D modality, correct?
Then they will die.
They will die. So they're not going to stay in a 3D existence. They're going to fall off. They're literally going to die.
Okay, in answer to that, the keepers of the planet want to shut down 3D. It's old. The keepers of the planet want to shut down.
Good riddance.
Right. Well,
who are the keepers again?
That's God. It's the God force. It's the creative. It's the creative energy. They feel that 3D has pretty much played its time, as we discussed before, of coming home after a day's work and watching old television, falling asleep in front of the couch and going to sleep. That there's no growth with that. Right now, the key word is growth and moving forward. 3D is like tight old shoes, and it's in the past. You don't want it. You want to move forward. And 4D, again, is the transition, the highway transition.
Well, sure. I mean, we can all see it around us as people are, the trappings of the past are falling away. I mean, not just, as you have said, not just the working a day job and falling on the couch and watching TV, but even more so, how do we get our food? How do we prepare our food? How do we source our own materials? How do we make do with less? Maybe we don't need this big a house. So, and that's happening, I would say, universally. But then there's a further growth period, a further growth phenomenon that's happening as people are becoming more and more aware that there's different layers to our existence. That not only are we existing in different dimensions at once, if you will, but more so that this secret underworld that so many of us have been talking about, the deep state, the evil goings-on of people like Gates and so forth, is real. They're becoming to that realization. They don't necessarily even know they're coming to that realization, but they're asking questions that are more source-connected.
Well, in response to that, did you love what we said at the beginning of the channeling, where we said that Gates, as of today, is now coming up with a brilliant plan of creating a pollution dust layer to protect us from global warming? So
did you? I enjoyed that very much. Thank you, guys. My lovely Arcturians know how to make me laugh.
I thought that was very funny.
That was awful.
Really,
awful.
Yeah.
I don't like the sunshade, not one bit. But is the ridiculousness of these things? I mean, it's so over the top. It's so farcical. Is it possible they're just pushing and pushing and pushing to see how far they can go before 3D literally implodes upon itself? Does that make sense?
Well, that's what it's imploding on itself now.
So Gates is, I mean, it's a charade. It's crazy. It's so surreal that it can't be real. That this dust barrier keeping us from the source of our sun, our vitamin D, our life force. Seriously? I mean, is this for real?
Yes, it's right up there. It's to distract us. It's so ridiculous. It's to distract us from the vaccination issue, which is also being pushed while we're saying, can this be real, that he's going to block off sunlight? Because it's so over the top and so ridiculous, we'll forget about vaccines, and they'll be pushed forward with the patches.
Okay, so those of us who are working to educate and to activate and to motivate and to get people to form their own state assemblies and say no to the constitutional violation and the I don't even know what to call it, these figureheads that call themselves our government, is that the right thing to be doing then?
I don't know what the question is.
Well, we're working to change things in this current reality, is in our government.
That's good.
So forth.
Okay, that's good. Okay, but then again, what is the question?
Well, there's too many questions involved in that one question.
Okay, that's
I'm pulling
fair.
out the thread. So
okay, that's fine.
reality,
You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay.
Thank you. The current reality. I don't even know what the current reality is because I don't exist in the 3D one. It's hard for me to settle down in that. But this Gates situation, is that meant to speed up our realization that things are just not real?
Because it's so ridiculous, is it possible that it will speed up the awareness of mankind? Is that the question?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. No, because people are sheeple, and they feel that Bill Gates is good. So it's very difficult. Only less than half of the population of the world will recognize the evil intent behind what he's saying and doing, because most of the world believes that Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci are good. And that's the problem.
Okay. How many right now would you say recognize it?
Half, as I just said. Half will
I
recognize
thought you said
it.
less than half will recognize it.
Okay, less than half. It's like half and half. Only half will be awakening, and they will pull down. The awakened side will be pulled down by the energy of those who refuse to see what's going on. Because I spoke to very brilliant people yesterday, which I told you about yesterday, and they said, oh, no, they're good. So all hope was gone.
Oh.
At that point, I did that as a confirmation.
Those people are very, very dense. And
no, but they're very smart. They're very smart, and they're very ordinary, and they're average, and that's what you're dealing with.
You're talking about book smart versus truly intuitive and aware, and
right.
a merging of right and left brain, which is analytics and a spiritual divinity or divine, the ability to divine things, which translates for me into perception. That's intelligence. Not because you got an A+. Yeah, not because you know how you know chemistry or you went to law school or you got a Harvard degree or whatever.
No.
It's how do you pull information from all sources, assimilate it, and come to an unadulterated sense of truth.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that you're expecting too much, and you have to acknowledge what average is. You have to understand the meaning of average.
So backing up then, you just said half will, God willing, half will recognize, but the unawakened side will pull down the awakened side. Now that's an unacceptable situation. So how do we get around that?
It's very difficult because it shows like yours that will help to raise the planet. The unfortunate thing is that, no, it's good. Okay, I take that back. It shows like yours that are going to be proliferating, and there are going to be more and more, and that's what's going to save the planet. It is a need to have more shows with enlightened hosts and guests who can bring forth the truth and stop bringing out nonsense, and that's what's going to shift the energy.
Okay. So the unawakened side, this is one of my questions forever, right? That I've been grappling with. So the unawakened side has to come along, or the other side is never going to progress?
Well, the answer is, if they stay in the third dimension, the virus will continue, because it's so that the virus is almost the same as third dimension. It's even though it's very dimensional, it starts at that dimension, and it's being held there by the people that you just described, and the activities that are part of the consciousness that's part of that is holding the virus in place. Now, once there's a releasing of that energy, the virus it's a living thing, so it will raise and raise and raise, and then it will be gone, because the higher frequencies will be able to deal with it. But the third dimension is sucked right into it because it involves then things like bleach, you know, a Clorox drinking thing and things like that. That's all third.
Oh my goodness.
It's all third dimensional because nobody knows what to do because their consciousness is not raised yet. That's why your show and shows like yours are so important because certainly mainstream media is not going to do the job, and nobody's really reading books anymore or newspapers. So it has to be done on the web, and it has to be done by consciousness-raising shows on the web and speakers who are speaking the truth.
Okay. All right. I'm still not clear on whether the people that are advancing will advance regardless of what happens to those who adamantly refuse to leave 3D.
Okay, the answer is simple. If it's mass consciousness and it's like fingers on a hand, the hand is all connected. The people are the fingers. And if two fingers are held back, the whole hand is held back.
I don't like that answer. I figure if I keep asking it different ways, maybe they'll change the answer.
No, you have to see it as a hand. That's why.
Okay.
No, it's really a hand. And we are the fingers.
Sure.
And God is the palm of the hand.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I've always thought that we are obliged to, to awaken people. But I also know there are different schools of thought as to what is actually going on and what's been going on and what's going to go on in terms of the transcendence or ascension, if you will. I mean, there are people, highly respectable people, who believe that a certain group is going to leave and form the new earth. But didn't Dolores Cannon talk about that also, the new earth? And then you've got others that still believe a spaceship is going to come by, sent from source. And yeah.
Okay. About a liftoff? No, I think that eventually, when things get to be even more problematic than they are now, the spaceships will start appearing with greater clarity. I mean, they're here already, but you just can't see them because it's like the blades of a fan that turns so rapidly. You cannot see the blades when the fan is turning because the energy is so high. They're right here already. But as soon as we're ready, we'll start seeing them. I don't know what the question is.
Well, I was just explaining the different schools of thought about whether or not there is going to be a split of some people leaving or ascending or changing dimensions or rising out of this, and others are not. But I guess you've answered it, and that those who refuse to leave are going to die off, or just not able to handle it. They don't want to change. They don't want to see their world change. So they're going to die off. And then are we going to create a new world where we are in place, or are we moving to a new earth, or what's going to happen?
I don't know what you mean by new earth, but once it's in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th dimension, it will be a new earth, call it that if you will, where everything is different.
Intriguing.
It's better. It's much better, and it's not as petty and pragmatic as it is now. It will be better. But the birth process and the transition through the 4th and 5th into the 5th dimension is very, very difficult. And that's where you have the suffering and the pain and the crying and the dying and the resistance.
The pain, the suffering, the crying, and the dying, bad, very, very bad.
Well, but that's okay because, as you know, having had children yourself, there's a lot of pain involved and in the birth process. And then you get a present called a baby. And that's what's happening now.
For sure. Okay, thank you. So lying and integrity, you mentioned that this ego thing, which has been, I mean, even the people who are allegedly, as you were talking about the person who shall go unnamed, who will not acknowledge you, these alleged people who are, holy and high vibrational, I mean, their ego is unbelievable. at times. So,
right.
but I mean, but you know, dial back to the average person. It's very, very hard to get rid of ego. Some people call it service to self versus service to others. I don't like that because that's too cut and dry, too black and white. I don't think that's true. I think you have to be, to some level, serving yourself in order to serve others. So
ego is built in. It's important. Ego is important.
Okay. Thank you. So what else about ego could we say? Because there is a fine line between self-empowerment and self-belief and
the key word
putting yourself before others. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, sometimes putting yourself before others is not a bad idea. That's not the problem. The problem is when ego is combined with arrogance, that there's a problem. If you can have ego, which we all have to have when you're on the earth, because that's built in, that's into the human DNA, it's when it's combined with arrogance and people will not budge from their belief systems or from their place of comfort, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, whatever it may be. They won't leave the place of comfort. That's when ego is combined with arrogance, and that's unacceptable. That's third dimension. Now, if ego can move forward onto the highway of dimension 4 without arrogance, then I think you're moving in the right direction. I think what happened is...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I believe in the case of Tom Hanks and his wife, they had the experience, but because they did it with ego, as we all have, but they did it without arrogance. And they chose to stay here, and because they had not been involved with arrogance, they are allowed now to be teachers and to share what was helpful to them, and they may be able to help us.
I'm sorry to interrupt there, but everything I know has led me to believe that Hanks is, you know, he's one of them. I mean, he's part of the dark side. He's
yes,
been
that's true. But
a rapist, a pedophile, a murderer.
Of course.
His wife is an even bigger Satanist than he is. So go ahead.
Yes, I know all that. Okay, I acknowledge all of that. I'm not denying any of that. And it doesn't really matter because at a certain point, our Creator says, "You've been a really bad boy." He says, "Yeah, I know." And God says, "You know, you could do something nice now. You want to?" And Tom says, "I don't know, God. What's involved?" And God says, "Well, what you have to do is get very sick. You and your crazy wife, you both have to become really, really sick." And everybody's going to say, "Oh, my God, Mr. and Mrs. Tom Hanks, oh, there's no hope for the rest of us." And then you'll get better. You'll probably get better, and you may even live. But you have to get rid of all your old ways, and you have to really have a new birth experience. You have to be the real meaning of born again. You have to be born again, and you have to be decent, and you have to be a good boy this time. Are you up for it? And Tom says, "Well, I don't know, because I like all those bad things I did." Well, God says, "Then you're going to die." And Tom says, "Well, God, I really would like to live." He says, "Okay, we're back to square one. Be a good boy. Help the planet. Help people. You're going to get very sick. Your wife's going to get very sick. You're both going to have near-death experiences. And then you're going to give blood. You're going to help people with your platelets. And you're not going to go back to your old ways, because if you do, I'll zap you right off the planet in 2 seconds because I know everything you do." And Tom says, "Yeah, okay, I guess so." And that's the whole scenario.
It just doesn't, okay, I mean, I can hear the beauty in that, but I do feel like a lot of people are going to be screaming inside saying, well, where's the justice? This is a horrible Satanist who has inflicted great harm. Isn't it better, aren't we better served to bring people like this out in the open and have it revealed?
No, because not as much. That will happen eventually. But in this particular case, apparently the Ascended Masters chose to use him as an opportunity to help the planet in a number of different ways. People on the planet are paying close attention to what happened to Tom and his wife. So I don't believe they will continue to be Satanists or whatever things they did. I do not believe that will continue, because if they do, they will die, and he knows it. So if he dies, and in answer to your question, there are many clones, and there are many. Wait, you're breaking up. What?
Say that again. There are many
clones of many people.
Yeah,
many people, and the clones are not necessarily bad or good. They're just there, and they're controlled, so they're probably not of the highest order. But that's the least of the problem. The least of the problem is the raising of consciousness, which can be done even with the clones, from what they're telling me. So I don't know, again, what the question is. Say it again.
Well, the question is, I guess, that we feel, I think I'm not alone in this feeling, that Hollywood should be revealed and politics should be revealed for what it is, to help people climb out of this, this belief system. That they need an understanding of what individuals like Hanks and his wife have done, and the whole system needs to come down in full view. And so for Hanks to be given this opportunity to be good now, it seems grossly unfair.
It's not unfair, because he will save many, many lives. The
only way that could truly work, I feel, is if they come clean and explain what's been done.
Right now, Tom Hanks is being used to give hope to a planet that needs it very badly. He's probably the most wholesome person he is perceived as being the most wholesome person on the planet. So it would be such a tremendous loss of hope and faith at a time that the planet really needs upliftment, that he was used in a way that would be almost as helpful, in a way that would be the most helpful and give people hope. He wasn't, it's not time for him to have his cover removed. It's not time. It may never happen.
Right. It will never happen?
It may never happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I can understand that. I just was, I thank you for that clarity. So the planet needs the hope more than it needs the revelation.
Perfect.
The reveal. Okay.
That's perfect.
All right. All right. So you said Africa is more at fault here than China. Can you, is there any more information? Do we have any sources? How do we learn more about the virus starting in Africa? Are we talking about the simian virus? The AIDS simian virus? Is that how it began?
Hold on a second. It's layered. It's very hard to define it. It's almost as if it doesn't matter, because it's simian. Yes, you're right about that, but it's also Ebola, and it's like complicated. And it's done under the most vile conditions, with many animals and people sacrificed as part of the process of developing the virus. And it was very experimental, and many countries were involved, including Switzerland, which is really surprising. It's like almost the United States is not exactly innocent, but they weren't at the forefront of the parade of creating the virus. So you're talking about the plutocrats and whoever is over in Africa did this? And our people weren't involved? Our people, the globalists that we're so familiar with, weren't involved? Again, you have a whole combination of factors. They're not even really laboratories in Africa. They're laboratories, but they're also field operations. And in answer to your question, nobody's defining who's involved. The cabal is sort of in there. It's very complicated and very much under the dark, I don't want to say the dark web, but the dark cover of obscurity. And in some cases it doesn't matter, because it's never going to be revealed, because it can't be. It's too scattered. It's not defined. The source of it's not defined. Okay. at least at this
So,
time. So.
Thank you. That's well said. But what about China then? Was it set up?
Well, it was carried there deliberately after it went to Switzerland, and they were more than delighted to receive it, and then it was proliferated with the animals in the laboratories. But it's again, all comes down to money and who can do what for whom and how much money can we make with this. And of course, Bill Gates has been part of the parade right from the very start, and many others.
Well, you know how we feel about him. Okay, so Clear Vision 2020. That's a good one. I like that. We will. That's a good mantra for this current state of affairs.
Definitely.
Ring dings. Okay, that was funny. But basically, what
you know how much I love ring dings. You know I love ring dings.
Well, I hate to break this to you. I mean, have you had one in recent years?
I have a very sad ring ding story. All
right. Well, you can wait. Hold on. Before you tell me your story, let me just tell you that the chemical composition has shot through the roof, so they don't have any resemblance to the ones that I think you fondly remember. They're like it's like eating paper, and I can't even ascertain the taste. It's like it's something unknown to man.
Well, I had a box of ring dings, which happened to be my greatest weakness, actually my only weakness. And
but currently, still?
No, it goes back a number of years.
That's my point, yeah.
About 10 years. I'm saying it goes back about 10 years. So I brought them home. I was so happy to have them. I said, no, Joyce, you can't eat these. They're very bad for you because you get fat and you get gray hair and all the things you don't like. So I said, there's only one thing to do. I'll hide them myself. I'll put them in the back of the closet and I'll forget about them, which I did. By some miracle, I had like instant Alzheimer's, and I forgot totally about my ring dings in the back of the closet. And a number of years passed, maybe 3 or 4 years, and like a little light came on in my head and said, aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry now? I said, yes, actually I am. Wouldn't you like a ring ding? I really would. Okay. Don't you have one? Don't you have a box someplace? Yes, I do. And then I started thinking about it, and I found them after much searching. And there they were. Da-da-da-da. I had my beautiful box of ring dings, so I tore them open, and I cut one open, and
the knife actually went through it?
Yes. It had not changed at all. It was exactly like that 10 years before. Like,
that is disgusting.
It is.
I'm sorry.
I didn't eat them. I threw them away. I said, I'm not even going to taste this thing. It cannot be good. I mean, after 10 years, they look okay. And then I had some, those chocolate things. I forget, Yoo-hoos. I had Yoo-hoos that turned white. So I said, we're not eating those either.
Oh,
so
that's
old
really disgusting.
They were chocolate that turned white. So I had many disgusting stories, and now your audience knows my two greatest weaknesses: Yoo-hoos, ring dings.
Well, let's come clean here. So obviously by now the audience has figured out that we are related, so we have very many funny stories revolving food, and for a very, very healthy household, it's funny because there are some food, if you will, some food addictions or some food quirks. So when I was living next door to your son, the famous chiropractor, which was just like less than a year ago, because I guess he lived such a life of deprivation and austerity and green shakes and wheatgrass shots and no meat and everything's holistic and organic and really very, very healthy. He gets these sugar cravings in the middle of the night, and at those times he will eat anything. He will rip down the house. So what he would have me do, so he'd buy sugar products and he'd have me hide them from him in his apartment.
That's very funny.
But the key is yeah, the key is how much begging does there have to be before you tell them the hiding spot?
Well, I see, now that's an impossible question. I recently, it was his birthday, and I recently gave him his favorite, which are those peanut butter round things. I forget what they're called.
Oh, Reese's peanut butter. He loves
Right,
those.
he loves Reese's. Okay, so I bought him a bag for his birthday, and he said, "Take these, hide them. I never want to see them again." He said, "I love them so much." So I said, "Okay, turn around," and I hid them. Okay, in his apartment, and then I left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
4 weeks later, he calls me. He says, please tell me where they are." I said, "I can't tell you. You made me promise." We're right out of Fatso. Remember the movie Fatso with John
Oh,
Belushi?
yeah.
It was my favorite movie. Okay.
Yes, with the lock and the chain around the refrigerator. I mean, talk about your stereotypes.
Exactly the same. So after a huge amount of begging, I said, "All right, Scott," excuse me, I said, "you're really breaking my heart now. I said, it's time for you to get your birthday present." So he found them. I told him really, he was so happy to have them. So he loves his Reese's. So we have some serious issues. But you know what? That's okay. It's really okay, because there are people who really have deadly issues, and those are the ones that I hope we can address at this time. And I don't know if they're being addressed at all. I'm not even sure how they should be addressed.
I'm not sure. Which issues?
Well, like if they have drug issues, for instance, I have a background in hypnotherapy. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I help people with food addictions or any kind of addictions with a thumb forefinger technique that I'm sure I explained to you, where you go into a deep state of theta before you go into delta, which is sleeping. You catch yourself in that point, and of deep relaxation. Don't do it while you're driving. And you put the thumb and forefinger together, and you've been programmed not to eat, not to use drugs, not to use alcohol, whatever the addiction may be. You can control it yourself. And I think probably the only way you can do that is with deep hypnosis or deep meditation. So that's my feeling about that. If you have a serious problem, you should be able to be reprogrammed.
Okay.
I'm really like a space creature.
What do you mean?
I'm all for reprogramming.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. Reprogramming is wonderful. I know success with that with people over the years. That I just don't think people even realize that you do something remarkable, and that is. I'm sorry. Do we have some interference on the line? Okay.
Yes,
it went away. So what you do, if you don't mind me saying so, is you have people write a letter, correct, of all their foibles, the things they want to change, and
write a letter.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Explain it. It's unique. It's remarkable. Go ahead.
I found out that it works. I asked people to write a letter to themselves, and I said, "Don't worry, you can write anything in this letter because I will not remember it." The same thing when I do readings, any kind of psychic readings, whatever it may be, mediumship readings. I don't remember anything because it's not my business. It goes around my brain. Same thing with hypnotherapy. It goes around my brain. So you write this letter to yourself, and you say, well, at 3 o'clock, and you write, "Dear," whatever your name is, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up with a huge craving for ring ding garlic, whatever it may be, and I also can't stop smoking. I can't stop cursing. Like all the things that you want to get over end in your life. I want to smoke, and I can't stop smoking. Usually hypnosis works extremely well, but you have to keep using the technique if the problem comes back again. And sometimes you have to combine it with acupuncture. Like if you have a serious addiction, whether it's drugs or smoking or whatever it may be, it may have to be hypnotherapy and possibly acupuncture together. So that's what I would say. So in this letter, they write the letter to themselves, and then they send it off to me either by email or snail mail, whichever. And then I make I don't think I've done this for quite a while. I can do it over the phone, or I can do it. I don't even know where my tape recorder is, but I would make a tape that you could listen to. I ask that you tape it yourself, and then you listen to it. before you go to sleep. When you get up in the morning, when you're brushing your teeth, you listen to it and reprogram your brain so you get over the cravings. I have a woman client who loves to eat bagels and muffins, and they have kept a huge amount of weight on her. Yeah, but we I know we reprogrammed her because she was so overweight and had diabetes and so many health issues. So now we have brought her to the point where she has lost a huge amount of weight. The diabetes is under control or on its way out. I think even diabetes can be eliminated with diet and with, I don't know that for sure. Some people are born diabetic or they have diabetes as children. So I wouldn't go that far. But I'm thinking most cases of diabetes can be controlled. Now I'm thinking that the coronavirus has particularly hit certain races of people. And that's all it is. That's the whole sentence. I've got nothing else to say.
Okay. We have so much to discuss, and I think we could keep going, but I think this is a good place to stop it, and that we should. Let's just clarify for the audience. For this past half hour or so that you and I have been chatting, have I been chatting to you, Joyce, or am I chatting with the collective?
Oh, they hear you. They know our every move. Yeah. There's really nothing. Being a person is like being on a stage, as Shakespeare said many years ago in the 1500s. That when you are born, you enter out onto the stage, and you never have a moment where you're not under observation of some kind. They respect your privacy. They don't care. They don't care if you go to the toilet or what you do. That's your own business,
Right.
But the whole thing is recorded on the soul record, the Akashic record, and that goes with you from lifetime to lifetime. So all of that is in there, and it's reviewed after the death process.
Wow. So we have so much to talk about. We need to talk more about the Akashic records. We need to talk about sacred sex, which you brought up. We need to talk about channeling methods and so forth. And I really want to explore this Keepers of the Planet that you're bringing forward. But let us call it here. And what people should do is put in the comments below what questions they want for Joyce, and we will try to keep up with those and address them in further readings and channeling sessions. So, Joyce, do you want to say anything else? My website is my name.com, JoyceKeller.com. And what I really wanted to say is you mentioned very briefly, the Keepers of the Planet are also known as the gardeners. And what's so interesting is that many years ago, Peter Sellers had a movie. I do not remember the name of it. Yeah, go ahead. I'll see if I can find it. He was known as the gardener. And that was really a very profound movie because the gardeners are really the keepers of the planet or the God force. It's all the same. But thank you for following up on that, Lane. No, that was another person that came as a shock because I used to love Peter Sellers, but apparently he was one of the worst pedophiles around. Well, pedophilia is hard for us to understand as mothers and as people and fathers, but apparently, we'll discuss it next time, but something is really awry. It's really a genetic issue. Let's talk about that. We really need to discuss. That's a big one. And the thing is, it's becoming, we're using the word so much right now, and it's truly concerned that it's becoming, the concept is becoming normalized and it's losing its shock value, which it shouldn't do. We need to strike this down. So I really would like to discuss that. No, it's good if it's brought out because people are saying, what? When they say what? That's really good. This is great. But then you have the more it's brought out, and the more, like, if you get on social media for the let's just say the quote unquote truth site, pedophilia is used every other word, right? So yes, that's true. Right, and my personal concern is that are we getting inured to the word? Are we becoming more, less shocked every time we hear it? And how do we keep it? How do we keep it in public perception while not lessening its
Okay, that's brilliantly. Yes, that's brilliantly said. And I just wanted to conclude with one sentence, if I may. I recently was scrolling and trying to find out more about pedophilia, what's actually involved. And thanks to the web, that's your answer, Lane, because it shows the most horrendous, most horrible, most terrible thing any of us have ever seen. And the web is really a godsend because you have this awareness that it's not possible. In 2 seconds, I said, let me find out more about this. And I became an expert on what was actually going on. And it was so horrible. You know, it's right there. The point is that it's right there. And people will check it out.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yes, thank you. All right, well, thank you, and thank you, the Arcturians. Thank you, Joyce Keller, www.joycekeller.com, because you have your weekly radio show on Talk Radio in which you try to fit a few readings in of people who call in, and you also do readings straight out on your website so they can find the information. You also have books and all sorts of intriguing things. So we can't wait to have you on again. And thank you, Arcturians, for coming in. We hope you keep coming in.
They will.
All right.
How many books, Lane, did you and I write together?
I have no idea. Are we talking published, unpublished, self-published, thrown in the trash?
Include the trash. Include
the trash? And how about the ones that are still on my hard drive somewhere that I've forgotten about? So can we
include those too? I'm saying we have well over 200.
You know, one thing, I'll tell you, I'll share a Joyce Keller secret. It's not really a secret.
That's okay.
You are, you were, when we were growing up in your household as your kids, you were a psychic junkie. So you always brought like this parade of psychics through our lives, and some we really didn't like because they're dark, and kids can really pick up on dark energy. You were for knowledge. You were all about acquiring knowledge. So you didn't mind necessarily dealing with some of these folks, whereas my brother and I were like, never that person around again. We don't like them. But one of those dark energy types did tell me that one day I'm going to publish every single thing he said, I see you pulling books, manuscripts out of drawers, and he said, one day everything's going to get published. And so I don't have any stress over it because of what Lenny said, because I know one day everything will get published. So I just, writing.
You're an amazing writer. You really are a great writer, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of your brother, too. I'm very proud of both of you. And Lane, thank you very much for having me. I look forward to future times together.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.